Hey, welcome back. Today on my bench I have a treat. This is a Sansui G-3500, and I'll admit I purchased this one on eBay as broken parts repair, and I picked this one out of the crowd because it had a unique problem and I wanted to try tackling. Here's the description. Sansui G-3500 stereo receiver needs a transformer sold for parts or repair. I don't know what they mean by a new transformer, but we're going to find that out. And then the previous owner did do some work to this. I guess they had problems with the power amplifier, and they replaced output transistors, fuse resistors replaced, and they put LEDs in as well. And thanks, Dave, for doing that. But I was looking at this. This is nice. I love these silver face Sansuis. And I love these big chunky knobs. They got that feel that you can't replicate without getting that big chunk of aluminum in your hand. It's got a nice feel to it. It's got a nice layout, and it's really nice. I love the styling of this. Let's see if we can get it working. Kind of the big letdown for this receiver is the top. It has, well, here I'll show you. I have the screws out already. Kind of a trick to get this lid off. You have to slide it forward and then up. The top is made from mahogany plywood. It's quite thin and light. It's quite light. This corner is smashed. It's like, I don't think that happened in transport, but that happened previous, because I think I remember seeing a picture of that in the listing. But the letdown for this is the vinyl wrap that they put on these wood cases to give it a simulated. You got a wood case, why wrap it with something to give it a simulated wood grain? So, but that's easily fixed. You know, I could make something out of 1/4 inch plywood if I could find some walnut. Walnut's traditionally the cabinet wood of choice, but that's for another day, another project. So let's put that aside and have a look at this. The screws. It looks pretty good inside. It doesn't look like it's been monkeyed around with too much. They talked about fuse resistors. I don't know which ones they replaced. If they're talking about the emitter resistors or something else. But we'll get into that. They did put some LEDs in here. There's one here, there's one here. I think that's it, as far as I can see. And from what I can tell, it just looks like they put these plug-in LED replacement bulbs. These aren't even white. I don't know what color they are. I'll have to power it up to see, but let's try giving this thing some power and see what it does or doesn't do. They said the transformer's blowing. I have a difficult time believing transformers just don't die on their own unless they're severely overheated and the thermal fuse opens, or maybe if it was overloaded to the point where a winding blew open. But you would hope that a fuse would take care of that first. So let's plug this in. I got it on here. I got no speakers or anything hooked up. Let's just turn it on. And oh, what's going on here? Look at the tuning meter. Phantom power. Maybe there's a battery in here I'm not seeing. Obviously we're getting power through that transformer because the AM circuitry is working. Let's try FM. Hook up an antenna. FM. We're picking up stereo. We're picking up stations. So AM FM's working. Let's put a pair of speakers on this and see what we can do. One of the things I need to address is there's a post missing here from the speaker B, and I'll have to replace that. So let's hook up speakers to A. I got left channel here. Where's left? Left. Positive, negative. Right channel. Okay. Speakers A. Turn the volume down. I didn't like that poppy noise coming out of the left channel. Wow, isn't that a kick? This thing's interesting. So we have power. I don't know why they condemn the power transformer when it's clearly working. But we still have problems, it sounds like, in the power amplifier. When I turned it on, you heard the noise it was making. Let's see. Got some transistors replaced in there too. Looks like one of the drivers were replaced. So we'll have to go through that power amplifier, make sure everything's 100%. But as far as I can tell, it's a fully functioning unit. Maybe with a few issues, but what is going on with these lights? Oh, they're soldered in. Okay. So something didn't go right for the previous owner.
Nearly 1,000 in the past few days जो ऐड हुए ने cases ये है
and the political system in some unexpected ways. So I would say that because we're in the middle, in some ways, of a transformation of the American party system,
would see, you know, children separated at the border, 230,000 people dead.
Us together in Germany playing minor hockey on the same.
So today is the day after the United States federal election, and we're all in limbo right now whether Trump or Biden has won. So that's going to dominate the news channels here on the radio. But okay, well, this is turning out better than expected. We have to go through it and obviously figure out what's all wrong with this thing. I'll do a test. I'll do some testing off camera just to make sure that I don't miss anything, and then I'll come back and I'll go with the rundown of everything that's wrong with this, and we'll start doing our repairs. Alright, I was just looking at the lighting here and it's not working. The schematic is pretty simple. You probably won't see it on the camera, it's pretty small print, but I'll go through it just quickly here. 2 windings, secondary windings on the transformer. One's the main power for the amplifier, the other is a secondary winding for the lighting, and it also has a bridge rectifier and filter caps, and goes up here, and has a regulator for the tuners. All right, so where are we here? Okay, right here is the two bulbs. They are two 8-volt 0.3 amps incandescent lamps wired in series, and they're placed across the AC line of this secondary, which is rated at 15 volts at half an amp, and it's fused for 1 amp, and then it goes to the bulbs, and then it goes to the bridge rectifier, and out from there. So what we're playing with is two lamps that are wired in series. Originally, here they came and they wired in two LEDs in place of the lamps, and I'll show you. They weren't working when I first turned it on because one of the lamps is wired backwards. See, I touch the wires, no light. If I turn the bulb around, or the LED cob, this is an LED, and I do it again, they both light up. Now, we got green and green. I'm not fond of green at all. I don't know why they picked the green, but I'm going to remove these. I can already. I'm looking at this LED, and I can already see the strobing of it. It's flashing at me, and it's you know, the 60 cycle flash. I don't know if these have even dropping resistors in them. What do we got here? 5 LEDs wired in series, probably, and no dropping resistor visible. It might be inside. I don't know. Anyways, my plan is to take two of these bulbs. These are GE 194 automotive bulbs, actually. These are rated at 14 volts at 250 milliamps. And I'm going to wire them in parallel. And that is going to put a 50 milliamp or 500 milliamp load on that winding, which is higher than the original 300 milliamp. But the winding itself should be able to handle the load. That plus the power supply. I'll wire this in, and then I'll see. It will be brighter than the original bulbs by a little bit. But these bulbs are more rugged, and I think they have a longer life, as these are automotive bulbs, right? They're built a little more rugged than the original 8-volt incandescent lamps. So I think I'm going to go with that. And we're going to wire it in. Problem is, these leads that come out of the bulb, they don't like being soldered. It's some kind of a steel wire, and solder won't adhere to it. I have to really scrape it. I'll have to get some sandpaper out and scrape these and use flux and see if I can get some solder to stick to these wires. If I can't, then I might have to think of a different solution. But that's what I'm going with right now. I'll show you what it looks like once I get back and it's wired in. Alright, I got the two incandescent lamps wired in, and I'm going to show you what it looks like wired across the transformer with the full 500 milliamps current going through it. So where are we here? I have to jumper this. I forgot where the hell I was. Oh, here we are. Okay, so if I jumper this, that's what the lamps look like. But you know what? I think it's a little too bright, which isn't too bad, I guess. Let me see here. This is a 10 ohm resistor. I'm going to put it in series with the lamps. And I think that affords a better brightness without the lamps, you know, being on so hard. This 10 ohm resistor will drop the voltage to the lamps by about 3.5 volts. And I measured the voltage across the lamps with the full voltage, and it's still at 15.6. So those lamps are being overdriven by the transformer because they're only 14 volt lamps. So I think this will be a better option here, just to put a 10 ohm resistor. I did the calculations. It's going to dissipate about 1.5 watts of heat to drop that current, which is well within the 2-watt resistor I have here. I could even put in a 5-watt resistor, and this will dissipate the same amount of heat, but it'll run a little cooler because it's bigger body size. Just don't know if I have room for this here. There is room for it, and there's a capacitor here. I'm kind of worried about heating up that capacitor, so maybe I'll go with this 5-watt resistor and we'll call her a day. Alright, so what I've done is I've gone through the power amplifier and I determined that what transistors were replaced were the 2 output transistors. They are supposed to be, let's see here, they're supposed to be a 2SC 1986, and its complement is the 2SA 771. Now what they've done is they replaced those with MJE 15031, 15030. Now that's not a problem in itself, that's actually alright, but they've also gone and replaced one of the driver transistors. I went through and checked all the transistors for their part numbers. This one down here, be careful where I poke my fingers, this one down here is a 2SA 1013, and it's supposed to be a complement transistor. The complements are 2SD 438, 2SB 560, these ones up here. But these ones are not complementary anymore because that transistor's been changed out. They took out the B560 and put in an A1013, which is probably going to affect its operation, I would think. That's why I got everything hooked up here. I want to do a bench test before I put the new B560 in. I want to see how it performs with that other transistor, the A1013. So I got everything hooked up. I'm on the scope, the camera's on the scope. I'm going to turn things on, and we're going to feed it a signal. I have a signal here, 1000 hertz. So let's get this going. Hopefully we can see something on the screen. Okay, let's turn up the volume. And we're not triggering. Just want to make sure my probes are set up right. There's one. Okay. So this apparently is a what's the specs on this? 26 watts per channel. So let's turn it up and see what we get. A little bit of a dirty pot here on the right channel. Okay, we got clipping. Clipping. There's clipping there. Okay, let's switch my probes here. Reading off scale. Yeah, that's better. Turn this down a little bit. And we have 16.12 volts RMS. And see, we're not quite the same amplitude as I superimpose them on top of each other. Alright, let's take it up a little more. If I go one more notch on the volume knob, I hit clipping. And then you can start to see the flutter from the filter caps, power rail ripple coming through. Yeah, 16.1. So let's cook for a while. I want to change that transistor out, and then we'll do another test, see if it made any difference. Just a bit to talk about while this thing's cooking away here. It's been 10 minutes now. Somebody who's replaced one capacitor, two capacitors in this circuit. I don't know what they're doing, what those capacitors are doing, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to check a lot of these other capacitors. I already checked some, and they're all checking out good, but I want to go through and make sure I check them all, and make sure I confirm that every one of them is good. Other than that, everything looks pretty clean on this amplifier and this receiver. Power supply section over here, I checked some of these already, and these are good. I went through and checked a few on the tuner, and they were good as well. But there's still a lot of capacitors here. I want to make sure they're 100%. They're tucked away in different spots here. I'm mainly concerned about the ones that are exposed to the heat, like the one by this bridge, these bridge rectifier here. There's a couple here, and then there's some here near the heat sink, and a few power resistors. There's a couple. So I want to go through and check all those, make sure that they're good before I wrap this up. But so far this amplifier is doing well, even with that pair of driver transistors that's not complementary. So what I'll do, I think, is I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to replace that transistor so that we do have a complementary pair. I don't think sonically anybody would be able to tell the difference between the two transistors, but I just want to make sure that we got a good transistor in there, the proper one anyway, so that nothing weird happens in the future. And so as this heats up, this is getting pretty hot here. Like I said, it's been about 10 minutes. Oh, it's been about 10 minutes, and this heat sink's pretty much up to temperature. This one's quite hot. Not seeing any degradation in the signal. My power output dropped to 16.06 watts or volts RMS, and it seems to be scaling back on the power as it heats up. Okay, and kill the signal. Alright, so I got the transistor changed out. Switch it on and see how it goes. Plug it in maybe. Turn on the signal. Looks a little more uniform. Can't really tell. It's not much of a difference. but you know, we got the right transistor in there. It's getting the same power output. Check the other channel. This right channel is low. I wonder why. Here's my balance. Okay. Okay, balance. And dirty balance plot as well. .3 volts on that channel, and this channel was less, a little less. Oh, now I'm getting 17. So the amplifier is performing acceptable. Don't see any problems with it. I'm gonna do my checks on the caps. Probably end up doing a tuner alignment on this as well, just so that I can see if there's a problem there. Okay, the problem I'm having here is somebody greased the dial cord, and that should be dry. It shouldn't have any oil or grease on it, but somebody put some kind of black grease all over it and got a little carried away. It's still working. It's surprising it's not slipping on the it's not slipping on the pulley. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have to go and try and clean all this off with some kind of a solvent, because it's you don't put grease on dial strings, dial cords. So I'm going to have to fight with this for a while and try and get this cleaned up. You can see it's everywhere. Short of, I might have to just remove it and soak it in some kind of solvent just to get all that grease out of there. It's not good. Alright, so I got it back together. Got everything finished. What I was going to do to it, I did the pots, and to remove some pots to get them clean because they're buried in there. I know people like to spray stuff in, but I like to remove the pot, clean it with a solvent, and flush all that garbage out of there to begin with, and then relubricate it with some deoxit, and I think that's the best way to go about it. But it's working great now. I changed that one transistor in the amplifier because it was not a complement to the other one. So now I fixed that up. I got both complementary pair. I really had to look hard to find some dead caps. If you check these on an ESR meter, they're going to show up fine. But what the ESR meter doesn't tell you is the capacitance. So I had to remove some of these caps and check them on my other tester. And some of these, the capacitance has fallen by about half. Not a big deal. A couple of these I took out of the power amplifier and replaced them with audio grade caps, just because there was no problem with the old caps. I just wanted to upgrade them to audio grade, and I think I found one bad cap out of the whole thing, so I just left the caps alone. I just finished with the AM/FM alignment. The AM portion tweaked up pretty nice. It's got some good. It's got some good selectivity and sensitivity. A lot of background noise here.
The DNC has not done enough to elevate.
Some stations come in very, very strong. Local ones anyway. And it's picking up some distant stations. Even though I got background noise here out the yin-yang. I don't know what that station that is. And FM works good as well.
And I don't know where I am tonight. Keep thinking about
Sounds nice and clean.
They'll take you to the down.
Nice, smooth tuning action.
6-inch oven roasted chicken.
That was tough because Fats was not very good.
But it turned out very nice. It's a very nice receiver. I like it. I like the styling. I like the aluminum face and the big chunky knobs. That's the 70s styles I fell in love with when I was a kid. It's working perfectly. I got no complaints. I got it all tuned up. The previous owner did do some work to it. He put some new power output transistors and you know, got it going that way. But you know, somehow they messed up on the lighting, and then they had the LEDs lighting connected backwards, and they weren't lighting. So I fixed all that lighting up, and I think it's good. One thing that really kind of bothers me about this, I don't know, it's a minor thing, but they have a power indicator light here. But it's not a light, it's just a light pipe that goes to the lamp that's hiding behind this. So they have a little piece of plastic light pipe to come out front to show a power indication. I don't know why they do that, you know, like the dial light is on and then they have this silly thing. They should have put an LED in there or something if they wanted to have it light up. But that's minor, it's just my nitpicking. But that wraps it up for this one. Nothing else to do to it except reassemble. I was doing some cleaning on the back panel, and I think I got it, all the dust out of here, so I got to put that back together. And then I'll reassemble this, and then I'll test drive it for a while to make sure it's working 100% before I list it for sale. Alright, great, thanks for watching.